Hello, my spookies. It's your host and narrator Enrique Couto here, bringing you something a little extra special to help you get in the mood for the season of love. That's right, we have 5 tales of Valentine's Day horror, stories about love turned twisted, to keep you on the edge of your seat. So whether you have someone special to curl up with and enjoy this, or just your favorite blanket, a hot drink, and maybe a cat, a dog, a ferret, whatever you may have, get ready for a marathon of marital murder. Ooh, that was pretty good if I do say so myself. These are some of the best we've ever published in the last 5 years of Weekly Spooky, so whether they're new to you entirely or a welcome refresher, I sure hope you enjoy. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. Now, here goes. A Sunken Heart in Hino Bay by Jeff Carpenter. All life emerged, crawled out from the sea. Now, I don't know what's crawling out. Hino Bay High School Science Biology class, Monday, 2:43 p.m. Ayumi scribbles into her notebook, hunched over her desk, protecting her work. Her eyes are obscured by black horn rims matching her long jet black hair tied into a ponytail. Are you in grade 3? A girl beside her with dyed brown hair grabs the notebook off Ayumi's desk. The pen leaves a streak across the page. She turns to the second girl and shows her the notebook. The second girl makes a sour face, gesturing dismissively at the drawings in a lined notebook page. Cartoons. A girl sunbathing in a boat reading a book, and below her a myriad of sea creatures frolicking in the deep, an octopus and crab feasting on something. The girl points at a figure farther down the page, a masked scuba diver rising to the surface holding something in his hand. Oh my god, is that Mr. Harada? What is that in his hand? What has he got? A pearl? A present? For you? She and her friend laugh at the suggestion. Ayumi tries to grab it. Give it back. He'd only kiss you if you had gills and a tail. She already smells like she does. Give it back. There's a crack at the front of the class. The students' heads turn to the front. The teacher rests his hand on a book atop some scattered papers on his desk. Ayumi, please see me after class. Ooh. The 2 girlfriends coo in chorus. Ayumi holds a stack of textbooks in crossed arms close to her chest. I'm not sure what's come over you. You were disturbing the class today, and you haven't handed in your assignment yet. Usually you're a very well-behaved, punctual student. What's gotten into you? She can't meet his eyes. Tomorrow, Mr. Harada. Tomorrow. Ayumi's household, Monday, 6:49 p.m. The melted chocolate cools in the bowl on the double boiler. On the counter beside the stove are a box of sea salt, a jar of raspberry jam, a bowl of herring roe, a collection of spoons, and heart-shaped molds. Ayumi's grandfather walks up behind her, looking over her shoulder, surprises her. For a boy? It's good you take an interest in normal school life outside of the tales you read in your books. It's good you spend time with people your own age. Dead authors and old men like me are not ideal companions for young girls. Ayumi ignores her grandfather and increases her focus on spooning the jam into the cooled chocolate molds. With intense deliberation, she plucks 2 individual eggs from the herring roe and placing them side by side in the raspberry jam. Squishing them together in the gooey jam, they leak their briny golden insides into the surrounding compote. She sprinkles a pinch of sea salt into the molds, finishing her creation with a flourish. Could I have a taste of that chocolate, though? Reminds me of your grandmother. Tuesday, Valentine's Day, 1:56 p.m. A girl bumps into Ayumi in the hall. She drops her books and makes a desperate grab as the red cardboard box folded into the shape of a clamshell slips from her fingers. As she bends over to pick them up, she notices a boy, a strong, athletic boy from her gym class, looking at her with a kind of faint smile she hasn't seen before, and she sees that her skirt is riding up high on her legs. She straightens up and pulls her skirt down. The boy still has the funny look on his face, and he looks weak somehow, as if all his strength has leaked away. Just by looking at her, she feels flushed and rushes to class. "What's this?" Mr. Harada flips the cardboard clamshell open on his desk, revealing the chocolates within. Ayumi looks at the Valentine's Day present on display, one of the heart chocolates cracked from the fall. It's for you." "Ayumi, I can't accept this. You know it is inappropriate for a student to offer such gifts to her teacher. I'm sorry, it looks like you put a lot of work into this gift, but I just can't." Ayumi hugs her books tight and shuffles to her seat. Otani, the grizzled old janitor, totters into the classroom and empties the waste paper basket by the teacher's desk. He winks at the gang of girls huddled together, gossiping and giggling. One of the girls with dyed brown hair leans over to Ayumi and hisses at her. "If you want an older man, I'm pretty sure Mr. Otani is available. But better act quick before one of us snatches him up first." The huddle of girls convulses with laughter as Otani staggers out the door. Ayumi looks up from her book and over at Mr. Harada's desk. From her vantage point, she can see that one of the chocolates is missing. There is a space there. It is undeniable. Did she just see Mr. Harada lick his lips? Did he really? Ayumi watches intently, her elbows on her desk, chin resting on her knuckles, in rapt attention. "My last dive, I saw definite changes. The outflow from these chemical plants is causing untold damage to the ecosystem. I'm finding noticeable mutations in the local sea life. Overlong exposure to this pollution is ravaging local populations. I've decided to devote my time recording and cataloging these mutations. We have to do something to change this. We all have to do something. What I'm doing is cataloging the mutations." He plops a Ziploc bag holding a fist-sized thing enveloped in gelatinous syrup on the desk. It is a creature curled into a fetal ball. 2 appendages pierce the syrupy envelope, terminating its claws. "Know what this is?" No guesses. "It's a fish. Does it look like a fish to you?" The students shake their heads. "I don't think so. I found this swimming off the breakwater in Hino Bay. Well, it was trying to swim, more like paddling in a circle. Those bastards, those blameless industrialists in the plant on the shore, they've turned Hino Bay into a living science experiment. All life emerged. It crawled out of the sea. Now I don't know what's crawling out." He turns back to the specimen. "This is the caudal fin, the tail of the so-called fish." An iridescent turquoise caudal fin unfurls in the swirling sea-green water. It swishes to and fro, back and forth, lazily propelling the creature upward. Breaking the surface, she notices that the creature is her. She is the creature, her bare human body above the water, her scaly torso and tapered tail beneath the waves, trailing off into the darkness and the murky depths below. Her long black hair flows out behind her, slowly undulating in the motion of the ripples. She feels the water rise in a soft swell, and he is there, beside her in the black rubber wetsuit. A gentle wave pushes them closer together. He pulls off his face mask and removes the regulator from his mouth. He presses it against her lips. "Breathe, breathe," he urges. She opens her mouth, letting him inside her, and breathes in, breathes deep, and she feels herself going down into unconsciousness. Ayumi opens her eyes. She smiles and squeezes the pillow tight to her body.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Wednesday, 3:02 p.m. The daughter of the Dragon King was Ningyo, Princess of the Deep. She could assume various forms and would often take the form of a beautiful woman who could put any man who ventured into the sea under her spell. Ayumi stands at the front of the class. Her magic pearls could turn... "Ayumi, the assignment was supposed to be about sea life. Real, actual sea life. Dragons don't exist. Why would you... What made you do your assignment on that? I'm going to be forced to give you an F. Please see me after class. Ayumi tries to hold back a faint smile. He slumps back in his chair, pulls off his tie, loosens his collar, unbuttons the bottom button on his shirt. He leans forward. She can see down his open shirt. There are iridescent scales catching the light on his neck, spreading out and down to his chest. Mr. Harada? Yes, Ayumi. Do you think people can change? She pivots on her legs, twisting back and forth. Yes, of course. Change into something so wonderful, so strange that you don't know what they might become? What are you talking about? Kiss me. Mr. Harada stared at her. Kiss me. Why couldn't she say it out loud? Her lips strain white against her teeth. She bites her lower lip until she is sure blood will pop and trickle down her chin. She drops a potty training manual on the teacher's desk. What's this? I'm going to get my diving certificate. Really? It's an intensive course. You sure it won't interfere with your school studies? No, sir. I always think of you with your nose in the books, not outside getting your hands dirty. He gives her an approving smile. Always think of you. Always think of you. Always. You. It's kind of late in the year to undertake such a big thing like this, don't you think? She takes off her glasses and twirls them in her fingers. She looks straight at Harada. I dreamed that we were swimming together last night, and you swam up to me and looked deep into my eyes and said, You are the queen of the sea, and the sea is the mother of life, all life. And you held me close, and you put your lips on, Ayumi. This isn't appropriate. You're my student, and I'm your teacher. I want you to teach me real things, not the things I can get from books on my own. Spending so much time in the water maybe is not such a good idea. But we have to. I'll grow scales. We'll both be as free as the fishes. We'll change into them. We'll be living in the ocean as sea creatures forever. You must never speak about this again to anyone. Do you understand? Ayumi jams her lips shut and looks at the floor. Ayumi? Please let me go swimming with you. Silence. I promise not to talk about these things again. I'll think about it. Ayumi's household, Thursday, 6:45 p.m. Ayumi takes book after book from her bookcase and puts them down beside the others on her bed. She flips through them, smiles a faint smile, then with the reverence of a funeral, places them in a large cardboard box marked with a black pen on the side. 500 yen each. Hino Bay Recreation Center, 10:54 a.m. Ayumi plunges into the swimming pool. The weight belt sinks her to the bottom. The instructor gives her the thumbs up, then turns and ignores her just like he did after she gave him the money from selling all her favorite books. She looks around, surrounded by water. Everyone else is so far away. She is alone. If anything went wrong... She closes her eyes. Her heart pounds in her head. Blood rushes in her ears. She hyperventilates. Her eyes are big. She's going to drown down here. She sucks in water with her air. She sputters and coughs, blinded by bubbles escaping from her mouth. She drops her weights and scrambles to the surface. The diving instructor swims over to her. You panicked. He hands Ayumi her weight belt. This time, breathe slow. Breathe deep. Keep calm. Relax. Nothing's going to get you. Sometimes it helps to tell yourself a story to keep your mind focused. Hino Bay High School, Monday, 2 p.m. Ayumi wears a gold badge embroidered on her jacket. She carries a certificate between her stack of textbooks. She wears a big smile on her face as she walks straight to the science classroom. She takes her seat. A strange woman is at the front desk. Her smile fades. She raises her hand. Where's Mr. Harada? He is on indefinite leave. My name is Mrs. Kotani, and I'm the replacement teacher for this class. Hino Bay, Breakwater, Tuesday, 2:43 p.m. Shouldn't you be in school? Teacher's not here today. A taxi idles, parked but running in a slot by the seawall. Ayumi struggles with the air tank as she pulls them up out of the trunk. You need a hand with that, miss? Just a couple of trips. She hauls the gear down the breakwater. Swim fins, mask under her arms, oxygen tank hanging off of one shoulder. The dive tank slips off her shoulder, bangs off her hip bone, bounces off and rebounds into her legs, giving a dull blow to her knee and shin. She cries out, stumbles, and drops the tank, which rolls on the ground. "You alone?" She turns back to look at him. "Miss, you alone? I heard it's not good to dive all by yourself." "Oh, I've got someone." She makes it down to the end of the breakwater. She clambers over the jagged boulders. Ayumi spots a black shape bobbing in the water about 150 meters offshore. It must be him. She dons her scuba gear, nervously strapping and clicking it all into place. She hobbles into the sea, lapping onto the rocks. Once she's up to her chest, she begins paddling out to sea. She looks out toward the horizon. The black shape is gone. She can't see him anymore. She puts the regulator in her mouth and ducks under the water. It's cold and dark. She breathes in, but short and shallow. She coughs. She has to come up for air. She spits out salty seawater and scans the horizon again. Nothing. She's going to have to go out there. Her heart pounds beneath her wetsuit. This is it. She clears her mask and goes under. She swims in slow, steady strokes. She can't help feeling she's being shadowed by something not so far below her. But she fights the enshrouding panic, swallows her fear, and breathes in long, deep breaths. She flashes back to books she's read about the sea. Most of them not factual accounts, of course. Deep treasures hidden within the protective maws of giant clams. Fierce mortal battles between giant squids and deep-diving whales, and the jealous octopus dragging divers to their deaths for daring to encroach on its submarine territory. But she kind of remembers the true story Mr. Harada told her of Nino. Or was that her dream? In any case, she's having trouble remembering it completely. It was about a girl who swam out to sea, alone. To find treasure? A pearl? No, it was to find her lover, missing at sea. And yes, she finally does find him. He's alive. But he's not alone. He's caught in the embrace of Nino. The man's name is Harada, and who is Nino? Nino pulls Harada close, the water lapping against their bare bodies, writhing against him, rubbing off a patina of iridescent scales onto his face and neck. She kisses him all over, runs her tongue along his arm, licks his fingers. Harada twists his head, looks over his shoulder, eyes the girl from within the arms of the tight embrace. Nino turns to see what he's looking at. She hisses a sibilant sigh. "Oh, you brought a pretty one. A little scrawny, perhaps. Pleased to meet you. I am Nino, the first and the last, and you will know the truth of that soon enough." "I'm Ayumi." "Get out of that silly suit of yours. Can't be truly free in the sea until you feel the caress of the salt water on your skin." The girl hugs herself. "It's too cold." "Nonsense. How will you ever feel what it is to be a woman if you can't be naked beside a man?" Ayumi looks at Harada. She lets her mask sink to the depths below. Nino helps her out of her wetsuit. A chemical slick surrounds them, warming the water. As Harada reaches to touch Ayumi, the girl feels Nino come up behind her and envelop her. She wraps her arms around Ayumi and pulls her down. Somewhere, an octopus embraces its prey and drags it down to the bottom, holds it down until it drowns, then feasts on it at its leisure. A crab feeds on the scavenged remains of a muscular organ, still beating. A heart. A sunken heart. The chemical spill reaches the sea floor. The precipice coating everything it touches. A jointed limb telescopes out of the organ and snatches up the crab in its terminating claw. An aortic valve opens up in a tooth-studded maw that bites down on the crustacean, swallowing it whole. An eyelid opens on the vein covering of the organ, An eye blinks, and the bubble of a tear trickles out of its corner and races to the surface to expire in the air. The heart sprouts 3 more limbs and crawls away along the sea bottom, fading into the murky darkness. An empty wetsuit floats on the surface of the sea, bobbing in the gentle swells of the unchanging, ever-changing ocean.
Deb Debbie Deverem by Shane Migliavaca.
The cat thinks I'm fucking nuts. She may be right. I'm wearing my nicest dress, Dean Martin is on the stereo, and I have a gun to my head. I'm dancing with my dead husband on Valentine's Day. Angel, our cat, died 3 days ago. Her ashes sit on the mantel in an urn next to my husband's. I see her on her favorite spot on the couch, watching me. She really is an angel now. I pull the hammer of the revolver back. I'm ready to join them. Click. Son of a bitch. Empty. Good job, Debra. I forgot the fucking bullets. I drop the snub nose on the coffee table. I haven't found where Johnny hid the bullets. He bought the gun for me, worried about us being all alone out here in the boondocks. What good is a gun if the bullets are hidden? Excuse me, Mr. Rapist, while I find the bullets to shoot you. Maybe Johnny never got around to buying any. Ain't that a kick in the head, Dean? I drop to the couch, defeated. My mind isn't what it used to be. Grief and despair have pushed everything out to the point that I have trouble dealing with the day-to-day shit. It's for the best, I suppose. I'm not a religious woman, but I'd like to think there was something waiting, you know? After that, I could be with them in some kind of way. If there is a God and suicide is a sin, I better not risk it. Being sent to hell, I'd never see them again. If you ask me, this is hell. This world. Johnny, my Johnny, I miss that lopsided grin of yours. The way your stubble felt when you kissed me. How your hair fell across your eyes when you woke up. The touch of your coarse hands on my shoulders. Gone. All gone. 5.5 years ago, a drunk driver named Dave Robbins. Johnny had been on his way home from work when the bastard ran a red light and struck Johnny's car. I still remember the trooper showing up at work. He stood there in his uniform, looking so out of place. His words were unintelligible as my heart pounded in my ears. They gave that man 10 years in prison. 10 fucking years! He took away our future, and they gave him 10 years. He got out in 4 for good behavior. Good fucking behavior. I dreamed about killing him for so long. How I'd do it, how I'd drag it out, make him suffer. I'd even toyed with the idea of killing his family in front of him. But no, there was Angel to think of. The cat, a housewarming present from Johnny, got me through that first grim year. She was there for me when I got home from another dreary day at work, happy to see me, purring her feline heart out. She was such a tiny little thing when he surprised me with her. She hid under the couch for the first couple of days until one night I sat on the couch watching the evening news, waiting for Johnny to come home from work. I felt something small and warm curl up next to me. Now she's gone too. I'm left all alone in this house that used to represent our future together. A house that's become a tomb. The house was so empty and vast when I'd come home from the vet carrying little Angel's ashes in a small container. Nobody there to greet me at the door. I dread the thought of coming home after a day at work to this empty, godforsaken place. But I'll have to. I took a couple sick days, told Emily I had a bug. They don't need to know the real reason. Most of them look at me with some sort of pity, walking on eggshells around me. The others treat me as if this sickness in my heart can simply be sent away, that I should get over it and move on. There is no moving on. I could take some medication, I guess, something to help me, at the cost of this hornet's nest of pain in my stomach, the pain that helps me remember them, that keeps them in my thoughts. Would I lose their memory in a haze of medication? The record ends. I stare at the snub nose. I should really find those bullets. There's other ways I could do it. Pills, sure, or that old razor blade in the bathtub bit. Those are easy enough, I suppose. Hanging myself is off the table. I can't tie knots for shit. Besides, some idiot might think I was trying to get off and died by accident. Shit. Fuck it. The phone rings. I pick it up, looking at the number. It's Catherine Wade from work, probably checking up on me. Hello, Kat. How are you feeling, trooper? She answers in her unbearably cheery voice. I lie. Oh, okay, just a bit of a bug. You need anything? No, I'm fine, thanks. I want to hate her for caring. But damn it, I just can't. The phone crackles with static. Aren't you forgetting something, Deb? Another voice asks. Kat? You there? I can hear something metallic on the other end. Have you checked the basement? Who is this? I ask, my voice trembling, but no answer. God damn it, who is this? Are you okay, Deb? Kat asks, sounding a bit shaken. Yeah, just this bug. I think I need a nap. Before she can finish saying goodbye, I hang up. What just happened? I'm not even sure. I take a deep breath. I get off the couch. Maybe I should just go buy some fucking bullets. Looking out the window, I see I'm not going out anywhere today. The snow is coming down in a heavy white blanket. Frustrated, I turn the TV on. They're calling it the Valentine's Day blizzard, the weatherman proclaimed, as if he was a proud father praising his golden child. These cocksuckers really piss me off in how much they get off on bad weather. I think they get hard over delivering bad news. Expect record snowfalls. Expect me not to give a fuck, I say, wishing about now the gun was loaded so I could shoot the TV. I never hated anybody till Johnny died. Now I can't stand anyone, most of all myself. The smiling weatherman is replaced by a nicely dressed Chinese woman. The day's other big story, all but one of the escaped convicts have been captured. Police gather round an overturned prison bus in a ditch as the anchorwoman goes over the details. Police are still searching for Charles Lee Andrew, convicted serial killer and rapist. He's considered highly dangerous should you spot him. Why do these assholes always have 3 names? Is it a serial killer thing? They linger on his face. He's handsome enough except for the scar over his left eye. Crazy burns hot in those eyes. Even in a photograph you can feel his stare just penetrating your soul. Bored, I walk out to the kitchen. A drink, maybe, and a sandwich. Dirty dishes clog one of the 2 sinks. I've let the house go to shit. Haven't felt like cleaning since the cat died. I pour myself a glass of brandy and make a roast beef sandwich. I hold a stainless steel knife in my hands, catching my reflection on the blade. The house isn't the only thing that's gone to shit. I look terrible. My hair's a mess. There's bags under my eyes. Fuck it all. Why should I care how I look? It's all a sick joke. The blade quivers in my hand. So sharp. One of those as seen on TV jobs you get at a Save Mart. Why, I bet if I just took the knife and sliced... Debbie... A sweet sing-song voice echoes out from the living room. The TV? Has to be. A coincidence. Deb. The voice giggles. Who's there? I call out, feeling a bit embarrassed because it's most likely the TV. I grip the knife, stepping into the short hallway. I walk towards the living room. I can hear a soap opera on the TV. I stop and listen. Under the din of dialogue from the TV, I hear the wind outside, the tick, tick sound of snow and freezing rain against the windows. And then, floorboards creaking with the unmistakable sound of someone walking over them. Debbie, the voice giggles again. Come and find me.
More scares to come. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
I storm into the living room ready to confront the weirdo intruder. You picked the wrong fucking time. Empty. I switch the TV off and I listen again. Maybe my mind finally has hitched a ride to Crazy Town. The house is still, silent, save for the wind and snow outside. The furnace in the basement rumbles on, making me flinch. I laugh like a maniac. Tears sting my eyes as laughter gives way to crying. I really have fucking flipped out. Wiping them away, I see them there, reflected in the black of the TV screen. Watching me from the hall, darting away before I can turn. Scrambling to my feet, I grab the empty gun and give chase. I can hear them upstairs. Yesterday upon the stair I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish he'd go away. The voice sang out from somewhere upstairs. I know that poem. From a long time ago, when I was a little girl. I creep up the stairs. No easy feat since they're creaky as hell. A door slams shut somewhere upstairs. How the hell did they get in? I didn't hear anything. Everything is locked. I didn't forget something, right? With a knife in one hand and an empty gun in the other, maybe I can scare the living crap out of them. Yeah, right. Why am I scared? I was thinking about ending my life moments ago. No, it's not death that frightens me. It's what could happen in place of that. Rape, being maimed, being paralyzed, a coma. Those things frighten me. A living hell I can't escape. I search the upstairs trying to look as badass as possible with an empty gun. That's when it hits me. I am fucking nuts. There's not a living soul up here. I search every room, every nook, every cranny, under the beds, in the closets. Not a sign of anybody being here other than me. Nothing out of place, nothing touched. Feeling tired, I walk into the bathroom connected to the bedroom. I run cold water over my face and stare at my haggard reflection in the mirror. Through the open door, I see the bed, sitting there, legs hanging over the side, a dark figure, watching me. I spin around, nearly slipping on the tiled floor. Who the fuck? I blurt out. The dark, featureless figure, almost an outline of a young woman, its long hair and pigtails hang down on black shoulders. It tilts its head and waves. Hey, Debbie, long time no see. I gawk at it for a few minutes, speechless. There's something about this thing, this girl, that seems familiar. Something's been buzzing around the back of my head all day, wanting to get out. Is this it? I should feel scared, yet I don't. I feel oddly reassured. What's wrong, sunshine? No hello for good old Maddie? Maddie? I stammer, my mouth suddenly dry. Was that you running around the house? None other. Don't you remember, Deb? How we used to? I rub my head. There's a stabbing pain. Something wants out. Poor old Deb went and grew up. It's a delusion, that's all. I walk out of the bathroom waving my arms about. Go away, you're a figment of my deteriorating mental state. You're not real. Good old Maddie slides off the bed, sauntering towards me. Not real, she pokes me with an ebony finger. That real enough for you? I flinch as I involuntarily back up. You made me. Poor little Deb. Her parents always fighting. Nobody at school likes her. She reads too much. She's too much of a tomboy. Boo-hoo. Maddie mocks me, making a tearful face. Somebody needed a friend, and Maddie got the call. Her voice suddenly changes, becoming cold. until somebody tossed me aside. Maddie backs away from me, her gaze locked on me. But I didn't go away. Couldn't. That figure in the corner of your eye, that shadow in the dark room, that was me. She does a little jig. You can't kill yourself, Deb. I won't let you. If I made you, I can unmake you. I grab a small ceramic statue on the dresser and throw it at this Maddie. It bounces off her head when I expected it to pass right through. Ow! She hollers, the manic joyfulness gone from her voice. Bitch! She runs out of the bedroom holding her head. I can hear her feet on the stairs as she goes down. Looking down at the plush royal blue carpet, I see a trail of crimson. Blood. I follow Maddie's blood downstairs to the kitchen. Bloody handprints on the door frame welcome me as I enter. Maddie is bent over the sink, washing the blood off of her forehead with a wet towel. Fuck you, Deb. You always did have a temper. She turned to glare at me, a gash of bright crimson and her black forehead. She holds the wet towel to it as she finishes off my glass of brandy, leaving behind bloody fingerprints on the glass. I'm sorry, I think. You can feel pain? Well, no, duh. Of course I can feel pain. She pours herself more brandy, gulping it down in one go. This is some good shit, by the way. Got any bandages? I go to the downstairs bathroom, grabbing some bandages from the medicine cabinet. When I come back, Maddie and her bloodstains are gone. Suddenly, I feel lightheaded. My head is buzzing. I take more aspirin than the recommended dosage. Lying down on the couch, I feel as if I'm melting into it, becoming one with the upholstery. I wake up sometime later. The sun is low in the sky. Snow still falling, but not as heavy as before. My head feels better now. Maybe that was all a dream. The snub nose sits on the coffee table next to the knife. I'd left those upstairs. Yes, it was all a dream. I'd just fallen asleep on the couch and dreamed the whole damn thing. A fever dream. The floorboards upstairs creak, and my heart skips a beat. This is an old house. It's just settling. That's all. I pick up the gun. Still no bullets. That hasn't changed. What also hasn't changed is it's still fucking Valentine's Day. Why couldn't I have just slept through the rest of it instead of the day that won't end? Dragging on, not letting me forget what I've lost. I remember one Valentine's Day. Johnny made his specialty for dinner. Spaghetti and salad. We watched an old Western on the TV. Something starring the guy that played Superman's dad. It had been an exhausting week for both of us, and we fell asleep on the couch halfway through the film, my head on his shoulder. The holiday didn't end up in a moment of passion. It ended in a moment of mundane tenderness. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. A knock at the front door startles me out of my fond memory. I wait, holding my breath. Perhaps it was just a noise and not somebody at the door. Some snow falling off the roof or the like. Then another knock comes, ruining my fabrication, followed rapidly by a third. Hello? A man asks from the other side of the door. Is anybody there? Don't answer it, Maddie says, dropping into the recliner in the corner, the chair's old springs straining from the sudden weight. Fuck me, I blurted out in surprise. Where did you come from? I notice her features have become more defined now, the darkness lessening somewhat. Her head no longer has a bandage, nor a bloody gash. I've been hovering about, sleepyhead. She tilts the recliner back. You know you talk in your sleep? Maddie looks up at the ceiling. Who's Rex? Johnny used to kid me about talking in my sleep. Rex, why does that name seem familiar? Hello? The knocking at the door becomes more aggressive. I can hear you in there. Please come to the door. The man pauses. His voice sounds strained. I need help. I pick up the empty gun, holding it like a magical charm capable of warding off evil as I approach the front door. I look through the peephole at the man outside. He stands on the porch, a desperate look etched on his face. His hair looks recently shaved off, and he's wearing snow-covered clothes and a Band-Aid on his forehead over his left eye. The man looked over his shoulder anxiously before turning back to the door. Please, you have to hurry, the man pleads as he knocks again. I reach for the deadbolt. I wouldn't do it, Maddie warns me. Shush. I turn the lock on the door, only partly convinced there's really someone out there and it's not another delusion. I pull open the door a little, peeking through the crack at this unwelcome stranger. His clothes look ill-fitting, a size or two too big for his frame. Behind him I notice his tracks through the ankle-deep snow. Yes?
Shh, it was only the wind. You're safe. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
You took long enough, the man grumbles. Excuse me? The man shivers, looking around. I'm freezing out here. Can I come in? Can I trust him? Should I? What are you doing way out here in a storm? Suddenly, violently, he pushes the door open, knocking me to the floor. I land hard on my back. The air pushes out of my lungs, the empty gun sliding across the floor. I don't have time for your shit, he angrily screams as he slams the door shut. Gasping for air, I try to get to my feet, get a weapon. It's no use. The man pushes me to the floor with a snow-covered boot. Is there anyone here? Are you alone? His head darts back and forth as he takes in the room. He gives me another love tap from his booted foot. Before retrieving the gun from the floor, he checks the cylinder, laughing. What were you gonna do, wave this around and use harsh language to scare me? Maddie slides up behind him. Told you not to let him in. I didn't let him in, I managed, able to breathe again. The man looks around, perplexed. The fuck you talking about, lady? What do you want? I ask. I don't have any money. Oh, we'll see about that. He pulls me up, dragging me to the couch. Both our eyes go to the knife on the coffee table before meeting again. He hurls me into the couch. When I manage to sit up, he hits me in the face. Hard. Hard enough that the world goes black. When my eyes open again, the man stands over me, the knife in his hand. Just what the hell were you up to here? He leans forward, giving me a good view of the knife. I'll ask you again. Is there anybody else here? I shake my head, noticing I've been tied to a dining room chair in the living room. I can taste blood on my lips. If you're lying, I can make it very unpleasant for you. I glare at him, more angry at myself than him. For once I should have listened to the delusion prancing around my house. As he looks down at me, I recognize who's invaded my home. Charles Lee Andrew, serial killer and rapist. With this revelation, a stark fear creeps into my belly. Yes, I want to die, but not like this, and not by his hand. I'm gonna go poke around. You sit tight. He goes to leave and stops. Last chance. There's nobody here, right? Because if there is, they're fucked. I shake my head again. Satisfied, he leaves me alone as he searches the house. Our house. Johnny and me and little Angel. He has no right to be here. Fear begins to give way to anger, this time directed towards this interloper. I can hear him in the kitchen, opening and closing the fridge. He walks back into the room eating a leftover chicken leg. Good chicken. You make it? He smirks a greasy chicken smile. I stare holes through him, imagining his body being riddled with bullets, jerking around in a death dance as flesh and bone are shredded in a hail of lead. Of course, that would leave a hell of a mess, one I really wouldn't want to clean up. You know, you look like shit, he remarks, setting a plate with the half-finished chicken leg down at the coffee table. I mean, other than where I socked you in the kisser. I watched as he looks out the window. This is perfect. With the storm and this place being in the middle of nowhere in East Jesus, the cops won't be around. I can definitely lie low and catch a breath. He bends down close to me and locks me in his gaze. And I definitely plan on having some fun before I go. He tries kissing me on the lips. I manage to pull away and he kisses my cheek. I turn my head in disgust, seeing Johnny's urn on the mantel. I start to cry. I don't want him to see this. Not my Johnny. The bastard notices my tears, sees the urn and the picture of Johnny next to it. Aw, what are you crying about, sweet cheeks? He picks up the picture, gawking at it with those soulless eyes before turning his attention to the urn. This your dead hubby? Fuck you, I spit out between sobs. You will. Don't worry. You will. He drops the picture to the floor, shattering the glass. First, I think I'll look around and then freshen up. Maybe take a nice shit and see if you still have some of your old man's duds. Seeing your little shrine here, I'm willing to bet that's a yes. And then I'm left alone. Left alone to think about this mess I'm in. Mess. It's a fucking nightmare. I can hear him moving about the first floor, ransacking the place and making comments, stoking the boiling anger inside me. I struggle against the ropes holding me to this chair. I flex my muscles, imagining myself bursting through the ropes with sheer force of will. When this fails, I slump in the chair, tired and defeated. Maybe I will die this day, just not how I envisioned. Come on, you can do it, kiddo. Maddie sits down on the floor in front of me. Easy for you to fucking say, I grumble. Why don't you help me? She lies down on her side, propped up on one elbow. It don't work like that. Gotta do it yourself. That fucking figures. Cheese it, Maddie warns me. I could hear him coming back down the hall. After a tense couple of minutes waiting, he appears in the doorway. Not much down here. Got a question, though. What's with the lock on the basement door? I shrug. I don't know. Doesn't everybody have that? Sure, I'll deal with that later. For now, I'm headed upstairs. Hope this shithole gets better on the second floor. Maddie sticks her tongue out as he walks away. What a dick! She turns back to me. Come on, now's your chance while he's screwing around upstairs. I'm thinking, I say before letting out a loud fart. Maddie backs away, waving at the air. Oh, fuck, really? Sorry, just the stress. I think something died, Maddie coughs. You could kill him with that reek. Sure, you can smell that, yet you can't help me. Hey, I don't make the rules. She stands, holding her nose. I'm gonna sit this one out. Maddie leaves. Finally, a chance to think. I can hear him upstairs doing God knows what. Maddie's right. I have to get free. Unable to do anything but look around the room and think, I start to form a desperate plan. By the time he comes back downstairs dressed in some of Johnny's clothes, night had fallen outside, and I had a plan. He now has a piece of paper in his hand. He holds it out, showing me a newspaper clipping about a missing man. Who's this? You got all these clippings about the search for this guy. He picks up Johnny's picture from the floor, shattered glass falling off. Don't look like your husband, he grins. Did you have something on the side? My heart races. Somewhere deep in my mind, a loud banging starts. A door that desperately wants to open begins to crack. I know who you are. Charles Lee Andrew. You're on the run. He grins, a devil's grin. My reputation precedes me. Then you know how dangerous I am. I know you're just a sad, sick shit who gets off hurting women. Then you should be nice to me. I ignore his words, watching how my words hit him. What's wrong? Daddy beat you? Mommy didn't love you enough? Boo fucking who, Charlie? I fake cry. This was too much for him. He storms over to the mantel, grabbing Johnny's urn. Shut your fucking mouth, whore! He opens the urn, forcing my husband's remains into my mouth. I choke on the ashes, my eyes burning. Finished, he throws the urn down across the room. That's one way to suck your husband, the son of a bitch laughs. I stain for air, coughing out clouds of black. That's all you got, pussy boy? I say, hoping to push him further. I bet Mommy used to touch you and call you her special little boy, and you liked it. Give you a nice hard one, did it? I smile with ash-covered lips. No, maybe it was Daddy who did the touching. Cunt, he screams, every letter filled with venom. Lifting me and the chair off the ground, he slams me down on the floor. I scream out in pain as my arms are pinned to the floor by my own weight. Not wasting any time, my now numb hand gropes around on the carpet. Come on. They have to be here somewhere. Those shards of glass from Johnny's picture. If I can just grab one and get enough time to use it. But this enraged asshole isn't giving me much of a chance. He looms over me, kicking at my downed body. I need to get a look at the floor. Thankfully, this douchebag didn't see fit to tie my legs to the chair. I kick out. After a couple of tries, I score a direct hit, hitting him in the balls, doubling the bastard over and buying me some time. I roll over onto my knees, my eyes searching the carpet. There. A couple of big shards of glass. I roll over onto my back, trying to keep the gap of the chair's back even with the glass. I keep my eyes glued to the bastard as my fingers run over the floor, feeling for more. Charlie glares at me as he clutches himself in pain. The jagged glass cuts into my fingers when I find it. I poke my arms a couple of times as I line the glass up with my bonds, the glass slicing into my hands as easy as it does the rope restraining me. I feel my hands come free as Charlie limps toward me. Anger so intense I can feel its heat, boils out of his very being. Freed of the chair, I push away from it, kicking it into his path. Pained, he barely dodges it. His face red with rage, Charlie lunges at me, his hands at my throat. I strike out with a shard of glass.
Are you afraid? Good. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Thank you, officer. I appreciate it. I smile at the trooper on my porch. Just doing our job, ma'am. The storm really hindered our search. Well, as you can see, I really got snowed in here. Not that it matters. You're the first visitor I've had in ages. After a little small talk, the trooper leaves. I watch him leave, locking the door as he drives off. I lucked out. I was shoveling off the porch when the trooper showed up. My cut hands were covered up by black and purple gloves. If he'd seen them, would he have known? Would he have probed further? I don't know. I pick up a set of keys from the stand by the front door, my hands still sensitive as they begin to heal. I walk to the basement door, unlocking the silver padlock and stepping down into the darkness. The nauseating smell of feces and piss burn my eyes and nose. I need to buy a couple dozen air fresheners for down here. My hand runs over the wall, stopping at the light switch. The basement lights hiss to life below me. I feel as if a great milestone has been taken off my shoulders. During that fight with Charles Lee Andrew, the door, buried deep in the back of my mind, finally flew open. Just in time, too. I step onto the cold cement floor and I'm greeted by a pitiful, sobbing grunt. Music to my ears. How are we doing today, Charlie? Chained to a wall in a pair of stained briefs, my new pet groans into his cloth gag, his bare chest and back a map of scars and bruises. I wheel out my tray of toys, selecting a nasty-looking box cutter. Are we ready for playtime? Charles Lee Andrew, once a feared killer, tries to plead through his cloth gag, no doubt begging me to let him go. Don't worry, love. The cops don't even think you're in this county anymore. From the other side of the basement, chains rattled as he stirred. A thin, filthy man emerged from the shadows, crawling on all fours. His knees bore the scars of 2 bullet wounds. Don't worry, Rex. Mommy won't forget you again, I coo. I turn back to Charlie. I think Rex is a little jealous of you. Don't worry, you two will have plenty of time to get to know each other. Perched on the stairs, Maddie watches with delight as I begin to slice. Be Mine by Shane Migliavaca. She'd just sat down on the bed with the cat snuggling up next to her when the knock came at the door. Blake looked over at her roommate, Cassie, buried in her phone and closer to the door. Door? Cassie didn't answer. Nope, guess not. Blake looked down at her cat, Dean. Sorry, buddy. She stood as the cat looked up at her, completely disappointed. Blake crossed the small, messy dorm room as another knock came. I got it. Huh? Cassie mumbled. Opening the door, Blake was greeted by Maggie from down the hall. The girl beamed at her from behind a pair of thick glasses. Here, she thrust a pink heart-shaped box at Blake. Thanks, I guess, Blake said, taking the box. Maggie frowned. It's not from me. It was sitting on the table in the lobby with your name on it. Oh, thanks. A box of candy? For her? There was nobody she could think of who'd do something like that. Going to the Valentine's dance tonight? Maggie asked before Blake could shut the door. Nope, got a paper to finish. That sucks. Blake shut the door. It really did suck, but not for the reason Maggie thought. She was struggling with the assignment, dragging her feet on it since day one. Now the deadline was looming. There was a pink envelope taped to the box's front with Blake's name written in glitter. Inside was a Valentine's card with a cute cat on the front which read, "You're perfect." Underneath the card's message was another written in red ink. It read, "Roses are red, violets are blue. I choose you. Meet me under the east bleachers at 8 p.m. "What's that?" Cassie asked. "She lives," Blake answered. "Huh?" Blake rattled the box. "Someone left me a Valentine's gift." "You got a secret admirer?" "Guess so. They want me to meet them tonight, under the bleachers. Probably some towny rapist looking to assault a rich college girl." "I'm not rich." "They don't know that. Pop that fucker open," Cassie said, sliding forward on her bed. "Bet there's a human heart inside." "Nope. Candies," Blake answered, popping a chocolate into her mouth. "Damn," Cassie groaned. "Gonna meet this mystery admirer?" "No time for love, Dr. Jones. I've got a paper to finish." Blake pet the cat, still lounging on her bed, before picking up her coat and book bag. "I'm off to the library. Billy's letting me in." "Oh, kinky," Cassie laughed. "There's your secret heart sender." "Billy?" "I'm pretty sure he's gay." "Well, so are you," Casey stated. "It doesn't work that way. He doesn't have the kind of parts I like." Blake slipped on her coat and rested the strap of the book bag on her shoulder. "What about you? Meeting Steve at the dance?" Cassie's gaze drifted over to her phone lying on the bed next to her. "Nah, he's busy tonight. Just gonna chill here with the cat and some TV." "Oh, sorry. I knew you were looking forward to it." A smile crept across Cassie's face. "Hey, we could go together." Blake could see the hopeful look in her friend's eyes, which made what she had to say painful. I'm sorry. I wish I could," she said. "If I don't hunker down and finish this paper, I can't screw up. My parents sacrificed a lot to get me here." She could feel her heart start to beat a bit faster as she imagined going back home after flunking out, the disappointment etched into her parents' faces. Blake felt sweat trickle down her cheek as she started to breathe more rapidly. "Control," she told herself, taking in a deep, slow breath. "Don't worry about it. I wasn't totally serious," Cassie said, perhaps sensing her friend's stress. "I'm better off staying in tonight anyway." "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just a little bummed. Nothing big." "You sure?" "I could stay." "I'm sure. Go. Get that paper done." "Okay. I'm sorry." "Don't be. I never am." Blake stepped out into the hallway, making her way past a group of girls all dressed up for the dance, before stepping outside into the bitter February air. The cold cut through her as she started across campus. Taking a pair of earbuds from her coat, she hit play on her phone. She'd put together a mix for tonight, something to get her motivated and keep her going. Walking along a lit path, snow and ice crunched under Blake's boots. Taking in a deep breath of cold air, she felt her heartbeat going back to normal. Since middle school, Blake had suffered from panic attacks. She had trouble keeping her grades up, trouble fitting in. She'd found ways to cope with it over the years with the help of the school counselor, Ms. Cheryl. Getting this paper finished would relieve a lot of stress. Most of the campus buildings were dark, only lit by a few lights left on and some spotlights on the outside. So many shadows, perfect for a townie to be lurking. Blake wanted to laugh off Cassie's comment, but here, alone in the night, she wasn't so sure it was something to laugh at. Stopping to adjust her heavy book bag, Blake became aware of something as the song she was listening to faded out. Footfalls on the snow. She turned, picturing a salivating pack of townie boys, ready to pounce. Ready to swing her book bag like a mace, Blake wouldn't go down without a fight. She turned and found herself face to face with a campus security guard. Hey, miss," the man nodded. "Where are you headed tonight?" Not wanting to get Billy in trouble, she fibbed. "Meeting a friend to study," she smiled. She noticed his name tag read Stu. He looked like a stew, Blake thought. "I see, nose to the grindstone and all that. Commendable." "Thanks." Blake could feel his eyes on her as she continued on. She felt a little better knowing there was somebody out keeping watch while most of the campus was at the dance. The library, designed in the mid-60s, stood out against the rest of the campus, which had been renovated over the last few years. She knocked on the staff door around the building's back. After a few minutes of standing around waiting and thinking Billy wasn't even there, the lock clicked and the metal door opened. A young man, a thin shadow of stubble covering his lower face, peeked his head out. His eyes darted back and forth before stopping on Blake. Is it secret? Is it safe?
There's more scares where that came from. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Billy, Blake said wearily. He smiled broadly. Sorry, couldn't resist. All this clandestine shit. It was your idea for me to use the staff entrance. Didn't want somebody seeing you come in the front after hours. Old man Styles would have my ass for breakfast. Blake shivered as the wind gusted. Gonna let me in already? My non-existent lady balls are freezing off. Billy stepped aside and Blake entered what appeared to be the library's office area. A cluttered mess of desks and cabinets. From somewhere in the library, Elvis crooned away as they stepped into the main room. Only half lit, the library was a maze of bookshelves and shadows. Feel free to set up shop anywhere. I'll be down here doing inventory a while, so don't worry about getting the boot. Blake smiled. Thank you for this. There's just too much chaos back at the dorm to focus. Besides, Cassie didn't go out tonight. Oh, she didn't go to the dance? Nah. Got stood up. Kinda the same for me. All my help bailed so they could go to the dance. Well, at least you got the king. Music isn't going to be a problem, is it? Nope. Brought my own. Blake pointed to her earbuds. Where's it coming from anyway? Old man Styles has a record player hooked up to the PA. He's got a shit ton of vinyl in his office. Billy pointed over his shoulder at the head librarian's office. Helps the night go by quicker. Blake headed upstairs and plopped down at a desk off in a corner. With her paper and reference material laid out on the desk, Blake popped open an energy drink and took a sip. Sweet, sweet caffeine. She unpaused her music and got to work. Cassie's finger hung over the send button. How long ago had it been since she'd sent it? She wasn't sure. She read the message again. I know about the two of you. The message remained unseen by Steve. A part of her regretted sending it, the part that still loved him, even though she'd seen them together. Fuck it. Fuck him, the shit. More cheaters coming up after this, the TV promised. Cassie pet the cat lying next to her. Here I am on Valentine's Day petting my gay roommate's pussy, watching cheaters all alone. Cassie groaned, tapping the back of her head against the wall. Sorry, kitty, but I gotta bounce. Cassie put on some lipstick, looking at herself in the mirror. Fuck you, Steve. Putting on her jacket, Cassie looked at the cat curled up on her bed. I'll leave the TV on for you. Learn from cheaters, pal. Don't fall in love. Snow had begun to fall, whipped along by the wind. Cassie was in the mood to do something bad. She could head to the dance, maybe find some action there. No. All those couples, dancing, kissing, she'd feel more alone than back in the dorm room. Instead, Cassie headed towards the library. She hugged herself as the wind blew across the path, swirling snow in its wake. Cassie approached the sliding glass door and peered inside. She knocked on the glass. Hello? Anybody around? She shivered and knocked on the window again. There seemed to be music coming from inside. Someone had to be in there. Hey, anybody alive in there? Keep it down, a voice barked at her from inside. Billy glared at her from over a stack of books. Cassie frowned. Sorry, geez. Is Blake in there? Why? I'm her roommate. I gotta tell her something. Cassie shivered. Please. Billy shook his head. Go around back. Thanks. Going around the back of the building, she saw the door open and the young man motioned for her to hurry up. He slammed the door shut behind them as Cassie silently gave thanks for the heat. When I invited Blake to study here tonight, I didn't think it was an open invitation. Billy, Cassie asked, Blake didn't tell me you were such a grump. He laughed. I just don't want to get my ass in trouble. This job helps pay the bills. Cassie looked him over. I don't see any trouble with your ass. This visibly threw him off. So Blake is upstairs studying. I can show you the way. No need to show me. I've been here before. I know her hangout spot. I've noticed you around. Really? A loud knock from the front of the library startled the both of them. What the fuck? Billy complained. Are you expecting somebody? No. Unless the cat followed me. Bill Murdoch? A man hollered from outside. Shit, Billy said. Stay here. Stay hidden. Billy left the office. Cassie could hear him talking to the other man, music from the speakers obscuring some of their conversation. Billy assured him everything was okay. The man laughed, then wished Billy a good night. He came back looking harried. Everything cool? Cassie asked. Yeah, just the security guy making his rounds. You better head up before someone else shows up. Stu almost made it back to the security hut, as he called it, when his phone rang. The psycho theme ringtone told him all he needed to know. He didn't want to answer it, but ignoring it would be worse. Hi, honey, Stu tried to sound happy as he answered. What are you doing? Walking my rounds. How about you, honey? Sitting here alone, what do you think? Shit. Wrong choice of words. I'm sorry, baby. If I could get out of this, I would, but there's nobody else. Tell me the truth. You're not banging one of those young college floozies, are you? No. He tried to reassure her. I never would. I love you. Somebody giggled. Are you laughing at me? He asked. The hell are you talking about? The childlike giggle came again. This time, he was sure it wasn't his wife. Okay, who's out here? Another giggle came from somewhere in the dark, just off the footpath. Stu took out his flashlight and shined it into the darkness. He expected to see a couple of students pranking him, but instead, there was nothing. Stu, what the hell is going on? His wife asked. Sorry, honey, work. Gotta go. He hung up. Stepping off the path, he shined his light over the snow-covered ground. There was nothing out of the ordinary, but a quick flash of movement among the trees caught his eye. More giggling rung out. Look, knock it off, kid. Go back to the dance or the dorm. Unholstering his pistol, Stu approached the trees. If I catch you and you're high on something, your butt will be expelled. His gut instinct was to walk away. Don't give the little punk the satisfaction of playing their game. Sadly, when it came to his job, Stu was a stubborn man, so he went forward. Listen, show yourself. I'll take you in. You can sleep it off on the couch and go in the morning. Sound good? Stu was answered with the sound of glass shattering. Shit. Had to do this the hard way. Ahead, through the trees, Stu could see the side of the visual arts building. The glass of one of the ground floor windows had been broken. Shining the flashlight inside, he could see traces of snow on the dark linoleum floor. So much for a quiet night, he muttered, entering the side door. Rounding the corner, he stopped. Something was laid out on the floor in a straight line leading further down the hallway. Stu bent down, getting a good look at what was sitting on the floor. A little pink candy heart. For the first time he could remember, Stu was scared shitless. As much as he wanted to head back to the hut and forget this crap, he couldn't. He stood gun at the ready and followed the trail of candy. The trail ended in front of a pair of large auditorium doors. Stu nudged the doors open slowly. The large room was completely dark. He advanced slowly down the main aisle, swinging his flashlight side to side. The light danced over the seats, pausing on each one long enough to see nobody. There was only one place left someone could be hiding. The stage. The stage was made up to look like a girl's bedroom. There was a large bed, a desk, and nightstand. As he walked up the wooden steps to the stage, there was an obvious shape under the blankets on the bed. A human shape. All right, Stu said, gun trained on the bed. Game's up. He yanked back the blankets in one swift motion, ready to grab the little shit hiding there. A grinning plastic face stared up at him from the human-sized doll that laid there. Suddenly, pain erupted from his left Achilles tendon. He fell hard, sending his gun and flashlight from his hands and across the stage floor. Stu watched as the figure slid out from under the bed and stood brandishing a bloody knife in their gloved hand. The short figure wore a beat-up old army jacket, with a gray hoodie underneath. The hood was pulled up, hiding their face in shadows. They playfully waved at him. "Oh, God," Stu stammered. Turning over, he crawled towards the gun. "Leave me alone," he screamed. Those words would be Stu's last as the figure jumped on his back, driving their knees in and knocking the wind out of him. Stu felt the cold steel of the blade against his throat as that childish laugh filled his ears.
I like it spooky. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Cassie found Blake sound asleep at her desk. She didn't have the heart to wake her sleeping friend. Instead, she went downstairs where Billy was still hard at work as Bobby Darin sang about the sea. "Don't you ever take a break?" "Sooner I get this done, sooner I get to go home and sleep," Billy said, scanning a book. "Sleep is overrated. Come on, take a break." She walked over to Billy and leaned on one of the bookshelves, trying to look as seductive as possible. "How's Blake doing?" Billy asked, sounding a little uncomfortable with her close proximity. "Unfortunately, she's sleeping. Now, here's my thing. I'm having a bad night. I need something, anything, to take my mind off the shit." She leaned in close to Billy's ear. "So, how about taking a break? You're very attractive. Don't think I haven't noticed, but, I have a lot of work here and shit." She kissed him on the cheek. "I can help. I'm very good with the Dewey Decimal System." "Well..." "Oh," Cassie exclaimed. "So not gay." "Huh?" Billy looked up at her. "Nothing," she said, breathing heavy. They were in the back corner of the library, behind a shelf of rarely used books. Cassie laid her head on Billy's bare shoulder. "I don't do this. It's just tonight," she said. "I don't want you to think I'm easy." I wouldn't, Billy said. "I know this is just a fluke, a one-time thing." "I wouldn't say that," she laughed. "We'll see, okay?" "Yeah." Cassie laid there, feeling her heartbeat go back to normal. It was the first time she noticed the silence. "The record stopped," she said. "Guess so. How much trouble would you be in if Old Man Styles caught us?" "Are you crazy? He'd have my ass thrown out of school." "From what I've heard, this isn't the first time someone got some in the library." "Miss Walton?" Cassie nodded. "And Coach Greer. It's a rumor, anyway." Billy laughed. "It's more than that. I almost walked in on them one night in the projection room." "She might have asked you to join in." The pair giggled. "Well, I gotta get back to work," Billy said. "I wish..." Cassie cut him off, kissing him. "I know. Duty calls." She sat up. "I'll go see if Blake is up." The PA crackled with static as another record started to play. "How?" Cassie asked, looking at Billy. "Only one way," he replied. "Somebody else." "Who?" "Blake wouldn't, I don't think." "I'll go look. I'll go with you. Stay here. If it's the old man or Stu or somebody, I'm toast." He surprised Cassie by giving her a quick kiss on the cheek. She watched him hurry off, feeling a sudden nervousness. She waited, listening. With the music, it was hard to make anything out. Cassie could hear Billy say something. Then he yelled one word that sent a chill through her whole body. "Run!" Blake woke with a start. She dreamed of a dark figure standing behind her, stroking her hair. A great mechanical roar erupted from within it, making her jump. Above her, the overhead heater rumbled to life. How long had she been asleep? How much time had she lost? She'd only meant to grab a quick nap. Groggy, Blake fumbled for her phone, knocking over an empty energy drink. "Caffeine, you betray me." The earbuds dangled from her ears, but her phone was gone. Blake checked the rest of the desk and floor. What the hell? It couldn't just be gone. From downstairs, music drifted up. Billy was still here. The music was something classical, though Blake wasn't sure of the composer. Blake went downstairs. Despite the music, there was an odd stillness to everything. Billy? The song reached its climax before going to static. Outside wind rattled the library's large glass windows. The snow was starting to fall heavier now. The clock over the front desk read 1:30. She'd slept for hours. Billy, she called out again, worry straining her voice. From somewhere in the library, a childlike giggle answered her. Come on, this isn't funny. Stop screwing around. Fear climbed up her ribcage and threatened to take hold of her. A flicker of light caught Blake's eye. Something moved in the library's rear, accompanied by the sound of voices. The light was coming from the conference room. The wall-mounted TV had been turned on, and a presentation on the college's renovations played to a darkened room. A lone figure sat, back to Blake, watching the screen. Blake walked around the side of the seated figure. Before she saw their face, she knew. Billy sat there, unmoving, staring straight ahead. A large, bloody wound covered his chest, his arms laid outstretched in front of him, his hands cupped together, holding something. An offering. A heart sat in his hands, a note was pinned to it. I heart you, written in blood. She ran from the room and charged the front door only to find it locked. Frustrated and scared, she pounded on the glass, but it was unwavering. There had to be another way out. The office, where Billy had let her in. Entering the office, Blake scanned the room. There could be somebody hiding behind one of the desks. The door on the other side of the room might as well have been miles away. Blake grabbed a silver letter opener from the nearest desk. She held it out like a crucifix to ward off some unseen evil. Blake got to the door without incident and found it locked. Shit. She headed back out to the main area. There must be another way out, a fire exit or something. She headed through the center of the library. Something slowly moved down one of the aisles, making Blake stop. Crouching, she slid the letter opener in her jeans pocket. She crawled on her hands and knees, trying to get a better view. Slowly, she pulled a book from the shelf and peered through the gap, coming face to face with Stu, the security guard. His body lay on the ground, lifeless, his head tilted to the side, looking straight at her. Her breathing became louder, more ragged, threatening to give her away. Control. A gloved hand gripped her shoulder. Boo! Grabbing a book from the shelf, Blake lashed out, hitting somebody. She didn't stay to see who. She ran, throwing books over her shoulder at an unseen pursuer. Blake ran back to the entrance, pounding on the glass. Let me out! She screamed. Enthusiastic clapping made her turn to see a figure sitting at the checkout counter, a hood obscuring their face. Wow, that was great. They pulled the hood down, revealing a young woman with short black hair. I was surprised, the girl said, holding up a cell phone. You have an eclectic taste in music. The girl started swiping through the tracks on the phone as Blake stood watching, in shock. Some of it is good, but there's a lot of crap. She continued going through the songs. Crap, crap, crap. Ooh, she laughed. Barracuda. Tossing the phone over her shoulder. What the fuck is going on? Blake asked. Why didn't you meet me? The girl sounded hurt. I sent you chocolates. Would it have been so hard? I thought you were different than those others. Blake had seen this girl somewhere before. In the dorm or a class. Maybe they'd passed in the hallway. The girl looked at her genuinely hurt. You don't remember? First day orientation? You sat down next to me and smiled. We talked about how nervous we were. Or that time I tripped? You stopped when nobody else did, helped me pick up my books, asked me if I was okay. The girl sighed. I've loved you since I first saw you. That's why I got transferred to Mr. Sigmund's class, so I could be near you. You killed Billy? Because of me? Blake felt her head spin. Like the song says, the problem with me is you. The girl jumped down from the counter. Billy wasn't the only one. As you saw, I killed that doofus security guard. Can't have him interrupting. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a keychain. Besides, I needed this. This was madness. Blake needed to get away. Get help. She felt her heartbeat faster. Felt it harder to breathe. You think I'll just fall in love with you? Why not? You're the only one who ever noticed me. No one else has. They ignore me. Oh God, you insane bitch. I'm in love. Maybe you are, Blake smiled. You did this all for me? She walked towards the girl. I don't even know your name. Terry. My name is Terry. That's a nice name. Blake reached her hand out towards the girl. Her hand slid into her pocket, touching the hilt of the letter opener. Terry grabbed Blake's outstretched arm, pulling her along. Come on, I have one last gift for you. They stopped at the door to Old Man Styles' office. What's behind door number 1? Terry asked. Any guesses? Blake held the letter opener, now concealed under her shirt sleeve. What could this maniac be planning?
There's more scares where that came from. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
No? All right, Terry sighed, a little disappointed. She opened the door to reveal a beaten Cassie lashed to Mr. Styles' chair. Terry wheeled her out of the office. Oh shit, Blake took a step back. What have you done? Nothing. But you're going to. See, she had to come snooping around, screw up everything. She gave Billy a pretty good screw before I killed him. Cassie glared at the girl. A muffled "fuck you" could be heard through her gag. If you really, really love me, then you'll kill her, like I killed for you. Terry pulled Stu's gun from her jacket and pushed the barrel against Cassie's temple. With her other hand, she pulled a large knife out and tossed it onto the floor in front of Blake. 2 things can happen, Terry stated. Pick up that knife and kill her, or I kill the both of you. Blake shook her head in disbelief. How would we get away with it? Your fingerprints, my fingerprints, all over everything. Simple. She did it. We'd be each other's alibi. She went nuts, killed Stu, fucked Billy, and then came after us. We killed her in self-defense. And we live happily ever after? More or less. Blake looked down at her best friend, then up at Terry, bending down as she picked up the knife and stood in front of her terrified friend. Terry trained the gun on Blake. Don't try anything. Blake and Cassie locked eyes. Would you just kill the bitch already? Terry ordered. It's been a long night. Blake took a deep breath. Finally in control. She pushed the chair into Terry with all her strength, knocking the girl down. The gun erupted as Terry fired. Blake fell on the girl. They struggled and the gun flew from Terry's hand. The two fought for the knife until finally the knife found its way into Terry. Terry looked into Blake's eyes and smiled, blood staining her lips. She loves me. She loves me not, Terry lamented, touching Blake's face before letting out a groan and going limp. Blake used her last bit of strength to cut her friend free. You okay? She asked Cassie. Not really. Cassie laughed, choking back tears. Fuck, Blake said, looking down at her side. An expanding red stain darkened her shirt. I've been shot. Hang on, I'll get help. Cassie ran into Styles' office. Blake could hear her talking to 911. Blake leaned against a bookshelf, looking at Terry. Happy fucking Valentine's Day.
Lover's Lane by Morgan Moore.
The headlights of a sedan cut through the dark and illuminated the scenery of the nearby area. Its engine faded into a sleep with the lights flickering off. 2 people,
A boy and a girl get out of the car. They meet up at the front and embrace, kissing each other passionately. After a minute, the duo pull their faces apart and smile at each other. "I love you, baby," the girl says. "I know. That's why we're here." The boy turned on a flashlight and shone it on a walkway that led up a hill. "Cherry Hill?" she said sensually. "AKA Lover's Lane," he responded. "I love you, Frankie." "I love you too, Annie." The couple kiss again romantically before grabbing a pair of blankets from the trunk of the car. Frankie extends his arm out and Annie wraps hers around it. With that, they walked away from the car and through the arch, where the walkway started. As the couple walked along, the light from the flashlight bobbed up and down. Annie nuzzled her head against Frankie's shoulder and watched the beam of light move around. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees something that catches her attention. "What's that?" Annie asked. Frankie and Annie stop walking forward and move back a bit. Frankie shines the light around the area. When the beam hits what caught her attention, Annie tugs at his arm. "That!" She points to the object. The light stops where Annie points. What caught her attention was a flat and small tombstone that laid flush with the ground. Inscribed on it was, "Marshall Presser, 1913 to 1962. "Who's Marshall Presser?" Annie wondered. "You've never heard of Old Man Presser, the lyncher of Lover's Lane?" Frankie asked in slight disbelief. "Frankie, you know I only moved here a little while ago. I haven't had time to learn all the cavalry spooky lore," Annie told him. She wasn't wrong. Annie had only moved to cavalry a few months ago. Annie took to the town well, and the local boys had taken to her very well. Frankie caught her eye more than anybody else, though. He was cute. Not too smart, but cute. One of the star football players of the local college, and made her feel things that curled her toes to no end. Why else would she have come up to Lover's Lane multiple times with him? "Want to hear about it?" Frankie asked with a smirk. He held the beam of light under his chin to look scary as he looked down at his girl. Annie rolled her eyes. "You really want to spend our time here telling ghost stories? I thought you wanted to do a little hanky-panky. I want to do that too, but getting scared makes your heartbeat faster, gets your adrenaline going, might even get you in the mood more. Besides, when your heart beats faster, you breathe harder, and your boobs bounce when that happens," Frankie explained, his smirk turning devilish as he mentioned her breasts, his eyes drifting down to her bosom. She gasped in fake outrage and pulled her arm away with a small laugh. "All right, enlighten me," she said, and started walking away. Frankie caught up quickly with Annie and took her hand. He planted a kiss on her forehead. Frankie started walking slowly, and Annie followed suit. Marshall Presser owned this whole area. He was actually the local executioner. Cavalry was a hanging town, and Presser was their hangman. His house was at the top of the hill, and the gallows weren't too far away. In fact, he used part of the hill as a cemetery for those he hung. Anyways, Presser was by most accounts a decent guy, save for it seemed to most folks as if he enjoyed executing people a little too much. That, and he had a bit of a temper. In particular, he didn't like the fact that kids would come up the hill and use the seclusion all these trees provided for, as you said, hanky-panky. To try and stop them, he started prowling the area at night with a noose made out of chicken wire. Scared the shit out of them, too. Well, one night, the old man was out prowling the area He finds a car that's really rockin' and rollin'. Presser decides that's the perfect target and goes up to it. The windows are all fogged up, so he decides to really give them a scare and breaks a window. As you might guess, the couple start screaming their heads off, the girl especially. Presser peers in and finds that the girl is his daughter, his precious girl under some guy, exposed for all the world to see. Something snapped in the old man. He ripped open the door and garroted the boy, his throat slit from the wire and blood flowing from it like a stream. Then he pulled his daughter out and killed her too. After he finished, Presser had to dispose of the bodies, and that's where he had a stroke of pure genius.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
He buried the two in the makeshift cemetery he used for his executions. I mean, it was perfect. Nobody would ever expect anything was wrong if they saw him digging a new grave or two. So that's what he did. It didn't stop there, though. Like I said, something snapped when Presser saw his daughter as she was, and in the area where so many other kids went to fool around. Combined with the enjoyment he got from hanging people, the whole thing transformed Presser into a killer. After that night, people, teenagers and young adults especially, started vanishing into thin air. Nobody knew what was going on. Obviously, it was Presser killing off anybody and everybody who dared to go up to his property. Eventually, though, people caught on, and Presser was arrested before being hanged on his own hill. His wife ended up selling off the house, and it got torn down along with the cemetery a while later. Since then, the city's owned all of this. You can probably guess from the name, but people still use it as a place to get together and spend some quality time. Some say that isn't the only thing that hasn't changed. Supposedly, Presser cursed the hill right before he was hanged. You'll hear people say that he still stalks the area, a malevolent spirit still out to keep lovers off his land, slaughtering all who dare to do so. But that's a bunch of bullshit, a hokey little ghost story we like to tell to scare ourselves. Now, you know though. Frankie finished his story as the couple reached the top of the hill. Annie laid the blanket on the ground and the two settled in on it. "Wow, you certainly know how to get a girl ready to fool around," Annie told him sarcastically. "What can I say? I have a way with words," Frankie replied, slyly. "Words aren't the only thing you have a way with," she tells him as the couple embrace each other. "You ain't wrong." Frankie and Annie heavily kiss each other, keeping it up while slowly working in their hands and the rest of their bodies. The wind picked up and blanketed the two in a cool breeze. A clock tower rings off in the distance 12 times. Annie pulls her face away from her lover. "It's midnight," she tells him. "Happy Valentine's Day," Frankie tells Annie, sweetly. A car alarm blares out. "That's my car!" Frankie shouts. He gets up and starts running down the hill. Annie rushes after him, nearly tumbling down the hill doing so. When she reaches the bottom, her feet slide her around, bumping into Frankie's back. She pulls herself together and gets to his side. "What happened to the car?" she asks him. I don't know. The lights were flashing and the alarm went off, but it stopped once I got down here," Frankie explains. "Did you turn off the alarm with your keys?" she asks. "No, I think I left them with the rest of our stuff. Besides, we didn't lock it or set the alarm." The two walk towards the car and, using the flashlight, look it over. "I don't see any scratches," Annie says. "Nothing looks broken either. Who knows what happened? Cars are finicky," Frankie adds on. "So, back to our business then?" Annie asks in as unsubtle of a hint as possible. Frankie laughs and brings her into his arms. You know it. They kiss and hold each other tightly. The wind picks back up and is followed by the ground shaking violently. Annie and Frankie stop kissing and hold each other's hands tightly. A cracking sound shoots through the area, louder than any thunder either have ever heard. As suddenly as everything started, it stopped, sending the night into an eerie silence. It's broken by the sound of shuffling footsteps. Annie points the flashlight in their direction and screams in terror. Before her and Frankie are a horde of the undead. All of the resurrected are in their teens up to their mid-20s. The stench of must and decay permeated through the area, while the sounds of bones rattling and flesh, or what remained, peeling, rang in the ears of Annie and Frankie. What are they? Annie cried out. This can't. Frankie tried to piece the words together, but couldn't. The scene was too fantastical, too nightmarish. The undead march towards the two, unwavering in their path as the wind picks up to near cyclonian strength. Frankie and Annie look at each other in desperation, unsure of what to do. Inside of them, a switch is flipped, and they nod in agreement. The couple turn around and start running back up the hill. Annie looks behind her as she runs. "Frankie!" she screams. Frankie looks back and sees the undead chasing after them. They return their attention to the hill, running against the ever-strengthening wind to get to the top. Once there, the pair ran farther and farther along it, closer and closer to where Presser's house once stood. "Annie, watch out!" Frankie calls suddenly. Annie stops to look at him briefly. When she returns her gaze forward, she sees why he had called for her. She stops and slides against the grass. Before her and Frankie is emptiness. The end of the hill. The only thing visible in the moonlight is the drop Annie nearly took. Frankie and Annie turned around to find the horde surrounding them. Their stench and the sound their bodies made drilled themselves into the two lovebirds, pushing them over the metaphorical edge. "What do you want? What even are you?" Annie screamed at them. To her and Frankie's surprise, they answered.
"We are those that Marshal Presser killed. Those who had their lives, their loves, cruelly taken away. Now, we are back."
But why? Frankie asked in fear.
Daddy didn't want us to have fun, to love, not on his precious land. But he is no more. So now we return on the anniversary of his death. If we can't embrace love here, nobody can.
One horde member told them.
"You shall both die,"
another said. The horde continued to march towards the couple, circling them to keep them trapped. Frankie and Annie look around to find an opening of any kind, anything that would let them escape. Only the drop from the hill down below offered a guarantee from the horror in front of them. Annie looks over at Frankie. "Love," she says. Frankie grabs Annie by the wrist and throws her to the undead. Her screams intensify as they rush towards her and begin to devour her. In their frenzy to feed, Frankie sprints past them and back down the hill to his car. He scrambles inside and digs in his pockets for the key, but doesn't find it. Frankie tries the other side, then the back pockets, then the ones in his jacket. Each one comes up without his keys. Only his phone and wallet are with him. "Shit!" he shouts to himself. Frankie sits and thinks where they could have gone. The image of Annie being devoured by the horde flashes in his head. Then it hits him. The blanket. They're with the blanket. He sits in the car, thinking it over. If he went back, he would have to face those things. If he didn't, then it would be a very long walk home. Frankie had an idea. A smirk formed on his face as he grabbed his phone. Thank you, God, for AAA. Frankie unlocked his phone and pulled up the number for AAA. A sudden smack on the passenger side window startled him. The phone dropped from his grasp. It was Annie. Oh my God, Frankie exclaims. He unlocks the door and she slides inside. How? What? I'm sorry, babe, he says. It's all right, love. You did what you had to do to live, Annie says. Oh, Annie, I love you, Frankie cries and embraces her in a giant hug. Annie strokes the back of Frankie's head. As they continue to hug, Frankie begins to smell something rotten on her. He notices that her body is cold, ice cold. Frankie pulls away some and looks on in horror at Annie. Her face was half eaten away, and chunks of her clothes and skin were torn off, her eyes a dark and blood red. He had been too excited to see her that he hadn't noticed what she'd looked like, but now he couldn't escape it. She was no longer Annie, the girl he loved. She was this undead hellspawn. Frankie whipped around to flee from the car, but it was stopped almost instantly as Annie dug her nails into his shoulders and pulled him down. She let out a shriek and threw her head down, sinking her teeth into his throat. Annie shook her head back and forth as her teeth sank deeper and deeper into Frankie's flesh, blood gurgling out of his throat and out of her mouth. She then ripped her mouth away, tearing off the majority of his flesh and causing blood to spray up onto the ceiling, ending Frankie's life. Annie looked down at his corpse and smiled with what was left of her face. Happy Valentine's Day, love.
All over me before he falls. And then my guy watches me, seemingly dance with such grace as I move around and turn this classroom into a massacre people will be talking about for years. Blood is just squirting and splattering all over me until I'm soaked and sticky from head to toe, and it's just dripping off my body. When I've finished killing everybody, I make my way back to my yummy guy. I can even hear the blood dripping off me to the floor now. It's still dripping when I stop and look down at my guy. He looks up at me with such admiration and whispers, I love you. I slam my machetes down on the table and sit on his lap. I love you too, baby. Happy Valentine's Day. As we kiss hungrily and lustfully, I'm getting blood all over him and making him a mess fast. Cut! Jenny Corgan calls out. And that's a wrap, her twin sister adds. Great as always, Vicky. That's right. This is a horror movie we just finished filming called Psychos in Love. This was yet another scene where I'm dripping from head to toe with blood. Yes, we're familiar with the 1987 film. Our movie is just the name only, not a remake of the original. I head to the girls' locker room and strip down so I can take a shower and wash all that fake blood off I got soaked with. My name's Vicky Valentine, by the way. That's the name I used when I was a high-demand porn star. That all changed when I was asked to play the starring role in a horror movie called The Murder Club, which was filmed by the North Ridgeway University Film Club. The movie became an instant cult favorite. Then I was approached by the Corgan twins, who represented the Strickfield University Film Society, about appearing in their movie, Slasher. That movie really took off too. Since then, I've been getting offers to star in more and more horror films. Psychos in Love is the 8th horror movie I've done for the Corgan twins. I swear, I fucking love the scripts they give me. These independent horror movie sensations made me a household name, to the point where I left porn and went mainstream. I had 5 great years being the queen of porn, but now I'm known as the Scream Supreme by many horror fans. Just last month, I made the cover of Fangoria. I think it's safe to say I'm never making fuck flicks again. After finishing my long shower and getting dressed, I come out to talk to the Corgan twins. "Here you are, babe," Jenny says, handing me a new script. "No fucking way!" I gasp. "We're really making a sequel to Slasher?" "People are demanding it, Vicky," Jesse replies. "After all, you were the unlikely final girl, so you're going to continue the legacy as the new Scream Queen Killer. In fact, we'll promote it and you at our panel at the Ridgeway Heights HorrorCon this weekend," Jenny cheers. "And we'll be shooting the sequel there," Jesse adds. We talk for a little bit longer before I take off. The title page says, Slasher 2, Valentine's Day. Man, I can't wait to read this script. It's almost dark when I reach my apartment at Strickfield Cove. When I walk in, my roommate smiles. It's been 2 years since Bethany Mirren and I made Slasher together. She had a boyfriend in Cody King, whom she met filming the movie. I mean, these two were really fucking hot and heavy when they were dating. Ultimately, however, things didn't work out. After they broke up, Bethany finally took that step and got into porn herself. We used to be bitter towards each other, but we've since become close friends, and now we're living together. Bethany and I exchange pleasantries and talk about how our days went. Bethany's parents actually confronted and blamed me for her getting into adult movies, but I had nothing to do with it. My former agent got with her and got her in, and I can tell you, she really loves doing it. Then I see Bethany's also got a copy of Slasher 2's script, and I give her a weird look. Wait a minute. Didn't you die in the original? Bethany laughs. I asked the Corgan twins that too. No, I'm an assistant director. You excited about the movie? I haven't read the script yet, I reply. I better get packing for the con. Bethany smiles. I already got you packed, hon. Sorry, but I'm really hungry. I could sympathize with Bethany, remembering the times I felt really hungry during porn shoots since we weren't really allowed to eat until we were done. Die-hard porn fans know the reasons why. Bethany and I hop in her car and we take off. We stop off at Denoyer's Grill and eat good before we head off to Ridgeway Heights. 2 hours later, we're walking into the Hilton where the Ridgeway Heights HorrorCon is going to be. It's Thursday night and the dealers are here early to set up in the vendor and guest room. We never once have to go to the front desk, thanks to us being able to check in on our apps. Our phones also become our room keys. You gotta love technology. After we unpack, I'm lying on my bed and reading the script. I can't believe we're really filming Slasher 2 here. Sure are, Bethany replies. Slasher 2 takes place at a horror con. The Corgan twins got permission to shoot at this one, so we're golden. I nod. Loving the story, even though I walked off into the sunset a rich woman at the end of the first movie, I developed a bloodlust and wanted to keep on killing. So I'm taking things up a notch and crashing a horror convention. Lots more kills too, and the ending! I can see why it's called Valentine's Day. Vicky Valentine's the Scream Queen Killer now, not Jenny Corgan, Bethany adds. The Corgan twins also cast some new people. And the actresses are all still busty, right? I inquire. Of course, Bethany replies. The Corgan twins love Russ Meyer, so that's their homage to him. Also, have you seen all the comic books those two read? Every female superhero and villain has big tits. Like the Corgan twins say, sex sells. I laugh. Now I know why you love doing porn so much. I just love to fuck and get paid good money for it, Bethany says. Then she sits down with me and takes my hand. Seriously, hotness, what will it take for you to do porn again? I shake my head. Oh, no way. I am done with porn. I'm a high-demand scream queen now. She sighs. You can't blame a girl for trying. I sit up and face her. Why do you want me to come back to porn so badly? She answers me by leaning in and kissing me. I just go with it and kiss her back with the same hunger. There is that part of me that truly wanted her for a while now, but I never knew she felt the same way. When we stop, I smile for her and caress the side of her face. You know, honey, I don't have to return to porn for this. Bethany gives me an affectionate smile before we kiss hungrily again and start undressing each other. I kind of wanted to mingle with some of the convention people, but Bethany and I are really craving each other right now.
Did you hear that? Better check the locks on your doors. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
It's Friday afternoon and I'm putting on my costume and makeup. This is the second time I've done the Ridgeway Heights Horror Con. Overall, this is my 12th convention appearance. Today I'm appearing as Veranda, Queen of the Night. In addition to being a growing horror starlet, I'm also a horror host. I made Veranda Queen of the Night for the Eerie City University players. She got to be so popular around Ohio and a few surrounding states that I was contacted by Channel 61 in North Ridgeway to portray her as a horror host. I do TV tapings to film skits for their Friday night horror show, Up All Night with Veranda, which I've been doing for a year now. In fact, I just shot footage last week for the Valentine's Day episode, airing tonight, where I'll be hosting the original 1981 classic, My Bloody Valentine. I was at this con last year as Veranda, and I had a crowd. I signed lots of autographs and posed for selfies with fans. And you know what's both funny and ironic? Nobody even brings any porn for me to sign, and people don't ask me about it. Bethany and I arrive at our designated block. The only people here from the original slasher are me, Bethany, and the Corgan twins. Both the con promoters and the Corgan twins tried getting a hold of everybody else that was in the movie, but none of them were interested. Lizzie Jones, who was snatched up by Hollywood, wouldn't even return their calls. So much for remembering your roots. The con's off and running now. It's not long before people approach me wanting to meet and get stuff signed. I have to laugh inside at the pervy guys trying to look down my top. Can't blame them since I'm wearing Veranda's form-fitting black ball gown with no shoulder straps. I'm still laughing inside after Bethany told me I look like an evil version of Jessica Rabbit. Google her if you don't know. At one point, Bethany and I pose for a picture together with fans. Boy, do they ever get a pic when Bethany turns and kisses me. She kisses me again when we're posing with the Corgan twins. While I'm outside taking a quick cigarette break, Bethany approaches me. I smile and let her sit. I close my eyes when Bethany holds my hand. When I open them again, our eyes meet, and we kiss again. I give in and surrender to a very long kiss. I love you, Bethany whispers when we finally come apart. Then she surprises me with a red rose. Happy Valentine's Day, Bethany, and now I'm squeezing her hand back, and I feel myself blushing. Then I smile and cry just a little. I sigh hard. I've never been in a real relationship. We'll take it slow, Bethany murmurs. I laugh a little. The fuck we will. I yank Bethany to me and kiss her this time. Then we both have the living shit scared out of us. This fucking giant of a man is right there, looking down at us. Next to him is a chick about our age with a hot body and a great rack. I love her red hair, which is definitely natural. The big man has bib overalls on over a white t-shirt. He's just smiling at me in a peculiar way. I gulp. Can we help you, sir? Love, veranda, the man says. Fuck, this guy actually sounds like Lurch from the vintage Addams Family TV show. As I'm looking over these two, I'm admiring their makeup. They're both very pale and have red eyes. The woman talks to me. This is my son, Flint. He's been watching Up All Night with Veranda every Friday night since you've been on. He's taken a real liking to you. In fact, he insisted that I bring him here just to meet you. I look at Bethany. I guess we better get back. Bethany's disappointed, but I give her a look telling her we'll have some alone time later. We both return to our tables. I autograph some movies the mom buys for Flint. I'm standing in front of him now for a photo op. He has his hands on my shoulders as we pose to let... Did she say he was her son? She looks like she could be his younger sister. Still, I let her take some pics. First time I've ever had pics taken on an old school Polaroid. Flint, love, veranda, the man utters. He looks at his mom. Flint, love, veranda. I really don't know what to say. I just smile. Veranda loves you too, big man. Flint's mom is to convince him to leave me alone. It takes some gentle persuasion on her part, but he reluctantly walks away. Bethany really looks worried. Once those two are gone, I return to business as usual and greet other fans. Saturday afternoon comes. It's time for the slasher panel. We're sitting on stage and talking to the packed house. It's the Corgan twins, Bethany, me, and the new cast appearing in the sequel, some of which we started filming last night. We also did some filming this morning. It's not long before there's some ruckus. That giant Flint guy just came in with his mom. His eyes are locked right on me now. The security people are ready to move in case he tries anything. He doesn't, though. We continue the panel where Jenny Corgan makes the announcement that we're currently filming Slasher 2 Valentine's Day here at this hotel. Lots of applause. We answer some fan questions before the panel ends. We go back to the main room, and I gotta say, I'm feeling a rush knowing Slasher will continue. In fact, the VIP pass holders get a very special treat. A few hours later, we're shooting our first kill scene. The VIP guests are in attendance. I'm dressed as the Scream Queen, and I'm about to kill Nellie Trist, one of the new girls. Action! Jesse calls behind the camera. Bethany holds up the boom mic, and Jenny is at the ready to work the rig for the blood. Nellie goes through her lines with Ben Devers. My cue is when he says the Scream Queen won't just kill people here when the convention's busy. I suddenly step out of the shadows as the Scream Queen, wearing my blank white mask and tight, form-fitting white dress. Nellie looks at me in horror before I grab her t-shirt and rip it down the middle to expose her ample tits. Then I start stabbing her with Jenny's special knife. Blood just squirts everywhere. Nellie screams her blood-curdling screams before she drops to her knees. Then I grab her green hair and slice her throat. She already had the practical makeup applied for that effect. The VIPs who get to be extras in the movie are screaming and panicking just like they're supposed to do. Now I turn to Ben, who's sitting there, petrified at seeing me kill Nellie. In truth, he's kneeling behind the fake body his head is resting on. I produce a machete and gut him. Then I'm pulling his insides out and throwing them everywhere. I even make a female VIP scream as she catches some guts in her hands. As is custom to being the Scream Queen, I'm getting splattered and soaked with blood. Man, Jenny's gotten so much better at making these practical effects. Cut! Jesse cries. We got it! We don't have to do another take. Jenny quickly gives Nellie a towel to cover her nudity. I pull off my mask. Since we're finished with the scene, Jesse tells us to go ahead and get cleaned up. I've just finished taking a shower. I had to wash my hair 3 times to get all the fake blood out. Jenny's blood is so realistic. I mean, she outdoes herself more and more on her effects. Bethany watches me finish getting dressed when we hear a knocking at our door. Then we both shriek when someone bursts right through it, like Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movies. It's that big Flint guy. He's looking dead on at me now. Want. Veranda. Want. Wife.
If you thought that was scary, just you wait. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Flint's mom appears next to him. Just come along quietly, my dear, and no one gets hurt. Leave us alone, Bethany yells. Flint snatches my new girlfriend to him and looks ready to hurt her. No, stop! I quickly scream. Stop! I'll go with you! Just don't hurt her, please. Flint, his mom tells him. No, let her go. Flint obeys and then snatches me up, literally holding me under his arm like a big doll. The mom leads Flint through the hotel and out one of the side entrances. Flint puts me in back of a pickup and gets in back with me. The woman gets in the cab and starts the truck. We leave the convention and seem to be heading back to Strickfield. Only we don't go right back to the village itself. We end up going into the backwoods. I've heard stories going around about this area outside of Strickfield. It's been said that all kinds of things go on back here. I feel my heart pounding now. I mean, I'm scared as fuck. Then I feel a pain I've never felt before. And no, it's for Bethany. I'm wishing I told her I loved her when she had told me that she loved me earlier. I'm really scared I'll never see her again. The truck turns onto a dirt road. We make a few more turns before we stop at a mansion? The woman gets out of the truck and comes around back. Let's go in, Flint. Bring your new wife with you. I gasp. Wife? Flint's still holding on to me and brings me inside through the double doors. We go into the living room. The woman sits down in a recliner like she's sitting on a throne. Flint sits on the couch and makes me sit on his lap. The woman looks at me now. You've become quite a name, Vicky Valentine. We have similar names indeed. Mine is Victoria. My son Flint must be kept calm and controlled. One such way is by letting him watch television. He started seeing your Friday night program on Channel 61, and I believe he's fallen, madly in love with you. So what? You're gonna keep me here against my will? I demand. You may feel that way now, Victoria says. You'll change your mind once you become one of us. We can do that one of 2 ways. The first, you can reenact one of your scenes from your adult movie years. Oh yes, I know all about that. You might as well get used to having that kind of sexual contact with Flint. Once he turns you, you'll be most loyal to him. If you won't give yourself to him willingly, then I'll employ the second method. That being, I'll inject you with my own blood, which can turn you in just a matter of minutes, even seconds in some cases. Hearing what Victoria's telling me, I know what stories come to mind. These backwoods people they're ghouls. The face of Bethany Mirren flashes in my mind. No fucking way. Flint squeezes me to him. Want. Wife. Want. Veranda. Stay with Flint. Victoria sighs. Flint won't just take you unless you offer yourself to him. It's quite simple, really. Either you take him up to his room and make love with him, or he can hold you here while I inject you with my blood. One way or another, you belong here with our family now. I feel myself shaking with both fear and anger. Why is this happening to me when I've fallen in love for the first time in my life and on Valentine's Day? What can I do? I don't want to be a ghoul. Yeah, I'll want Bethany still, but it'll be to fill my stomach. Ghouls eat people. Victoria's getting up. Fine. Have it your way. No, I shriek. No, I'll go up with Flint. Please. Victoria's not convinced. Show me, mortal. I've got to go back into my porn years to pull this off. I relax and lay back. I kind of look like Flint's lover now, and he holds me to him. I look up into his red eyes as I unbutton my top and reveal my big naturals. Kiss me, I whisper to Flint. Then I take one of his big hands and let him feel me up. I let Flint kiss and fondle me. I act like I'm really into it. I even slip him some tongue. I'm showing these ghouls why I've won many AVN awards back in the day. I really put myself into those scenes. I just acted like I wasn't in front of the cameras, like it was just me and my co-star, and no one else. After several minutes, Flint and I stop kissing. He looks into my face. Love. Veranda. Love you, baby. I caress the side of his face. Want to go upstairs? I shriek when I feel Victoria grab my hair. I'm still not convinced, Ms. Valentine. I shove her away. Get off of me! I groan and move away from Flint to stand on my feet. I kick my shoes off and quickly shove my yoga pants down. I step out of them and let my top drop to the floor. I'm completely naked in front of these two ghouls now. There! You happy? I snap at Victoria. I'll take Flint upstairs and fuck his goddamn brains out. You want to watch, you sick bitch? Victoria considers me. Then she looks at Flint. She's yours, honey. Flint surprises me by suddenly lifting me into his strong arms. Want. Wife. Let's go up to your room, husband, I whisper. Let's make love. Flint turns to the stairway and takes me up. For a big giant, he sure can move fast. He takes me into his room and kicks the door shut. Then he lays me down on his king bed gently. I gotta think fast, or I'm gonna be wanting to share Bethany and the Corgan twins with Flint, and I don't mean in a kinky, reverse gangbang kind of way. I can only see a few select things by the moonlight coming into the room. Then I have another idea. Instead of being in a porno, it's time to treat this like a horror movie. I had a scene similar to this in Veranda, Queen of the Night. I was naked like I am now. In the movie, I end up making love with a gargoyle who ends up becoming my man. Perhaps if I apply some of that here. Take me, my love, I tell Flint. Become my king. We can rule the realm of night together. I scoot over and lay on my back, looking into his eyes. Flint keeps looking at me. And then I realize he doesn't really know what to do with me. He's never been intimate with anyone before. Okay, maybe he's not altogether upstairs, but you'd think he'd have gotten laid at least once in his, well, I can't say life since he's not technically alive, right? Just the same, I can't help feeling sorry for him. Suddenly, the door bursts open. The lights come on. Victoria's standing there, glaring at me. Yeah, it's really clear she doesn't trust me, not with her son. Then I see the syringe with her blood in it, in her hand. I quickly get off the bed. Oh, fuck no. Come here, Victoria orders me. Right now. This won't hurt a bit. I only have one option available now. That shit can't turn me if I'm dead, right? I ask her. Victoria immediately realizes what I'm planning. No, don't! I quickly haul my sexy ass as Victoria leaps onto the bed. She's wearing stiletto heels, but she moves like a fucking cat. I make it to the open window and scream as I dive right through it and fall to the ground below. Ugh! I utter when I land in the tall grass. I didn't get a cut or break any bones, thankfully. If I would have, it would have served me right for diving naked through a second-story window. Suddenly, Victoria lands right beside me, on her heels. I groan and make myself get up. I growl in pain as I'm forcing myself to run. Victoria only has to take long strides to keep up with me. Much like Jason Voorhees, I make it around to the front of the house and try getting to the dirt path. When Victoria grabs me and tries to inject me, headlights suddenly make everything bright. This distraction lets me get away. Victoria doesn't react in time as the car slams into her and sends her flying back. Then 3 people get out of the car. Nice, Jenny Corgan purrs as she nods her head slowly. You know, I'd fuck you, Vicky. Like hell you will, Bethany snaps. Suddenly she's in my arms so we can share a long kiss. I love you, she tells me, for the second time. I love you back, I say, knowing what I truly feel for her now. Jessie Corgan approaches me. This is all we got for you to wear, Vicky. I take my second Scream Queen costume and put the dress and heels on, and then we look to see Victoria's back. Only now she's got 2 other ghouls with her. No Flint. Do whatever you want with the others, boys, Victoria tells them. She points to me. I want that girl alive.
You're not safe yet. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
The 4 of us turn and run. When we can hide and catch a break, I fill the others in on what exactly we're dealing with here. When they give me odd looks, I give them 2 middle fingers. I swear, I haven't been smoking any of Jesse's shit. There really are ghouls here. Hey, I get the best shit. Jesse pouts, sounding insulted. It's great for the creative juices. We take off and run again until we make it to some tall weeds. We manage to lose those fuckers and double back. We reach the mansion and hide in the garage. Flesh-eating ghouls, huh? Jenny mutters. Well, what the fuck are we? Ghoul food? Bethany replies. Oh, fuck you, Jenny groans. No, we don't make ghoul movies, we make slasher movies. So let's show these fucking ghouls how things work in slasher movies. Jessie gasps. That's genius, sis. We can actually put this in slasher too. We sneak back out and get to the car. Yeah, we could have just escaped, but you know damn well those ghouls will come back to the con. We're going to show these bastards what it means to be on the wrong side of slasher movies. I put the Scream Queen mask on and arm myself. It's time to film some more scenes for Slasher 2, Valentine's Day. After Jessie explains her plan, she tells us, "Places, everyone." One of Victoria's sons came around the front of the house. Then he sees Bethany with the camera, Jenny holding up the mic, and Jessie looking on as director. You fucking serious? The ghoul demands. They keep filming. In fact, the ghoul doesn't even see me until it's too late. When he finally realizes I'm right behind him, he turns around to see the Scream Queen. I tilt my head the same way Michael Myers did after he killed Bob in the original Halloween. Spoiler alert. Before the ghoul realizes it, I show him my machete, and I run it right through his gut. Unfortunately, being that he's a ghoul, it won't kill him. Great for the movie, though. And it'll look like one of Jenny's practical effects. I pull the machete out and watch the ghoul fall to his knees. Then I swing with both hands around the handle and lop his head clean off for another Valentine's Day kill. The body falls over and never moves again. Got it, Bethany says with delight. Okay, next scene, Jessie says and explains it. When she's finished, she says, places. We quickly move back into the garage. It's not long before the other son comes in the side door. He turns on the light and sees Bethany and the Corgan twins doing their thing again. Now it's time to do mine. When he hears the door slam, he turns to see me as the Scream Queen with a chainsaw in my hands. He has the most dumbfounded look on his face. I grab the cord and just rip that fucking chainsaw to life. One try. That's a first. The ghoul screams like a fucking girl when I run the speeding chain right up his crotch and keep going until I've buzzed him into 2 equal shares. An homage to the original slasher. And again, I've got blood all over me. Real blood, not Jenny's special mix. Ugh. Cut! Jessie says. After I kill the chainsaw, she smiles a little. No pun intended. One more scene, Bethany squeals with delight, and this time my babe has an idea. Yeah, Jenny agrees. Let's do it. Places, Jessie tells us. Mommy Dearest herself has no idea what she's in for when she comes looking in the living room. Like her boys, Victoria sees Bethany and the Corgan twins running the camera and the boom mic. She just stands there and looks at them. Yeah, she's annoyed as fuck. And just what the hell do you people think you're doing? Making a fucking movie, Bethany returns. And you get to be in it, Jessie adds. Victoria keeps looking at them like they've lost their fucking minds. Suddenly, I burst out of a nearby closet. Victoria, as fast as she wasn't prepared for the Scream Queen. She screams when I fire up the circular saw in my hand and feel it sink into her tummy. I press her up against the wall. Her blood splatters all over me. Victoria tries pushing me away, but I lean into her with all of my weight. I keep laying into her until she finally falls over and doesn't move. I get that gut feeling that says, I don't know, I don't think she's gonna stay dead. Cut! Jessie calls out. That's a wrap, people! The others come over to me now. Bethany points down at Victoria's body sharply. Yeah, fuck you, you zombie bitch! Go inside and take a shower, Vicky, Jenny tells me. We'll wait for you. Suddenly, Flint's right there, making us shriek. He looks ready to attack us. But then, he sees me. A very bloody Scream Queen. The two of us are at a standoff now. Then he sees what's left of Victoria and moves to her. He lifts his mother into his arms and takes her upstairs. Like I said, I don't think Victoria is going to stay dead or undead, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The four of us use the opportunity to get the fuck out of there and head back to Ridgeway Heights. Of course, I had to lose the Scream Queen costume before getting in the car, it being bloody and all. Good thing being naked's never bothered me, huh? Fortunately for me, the Corgan twins had a blanket in the back. The four of us make it back to the hotel. I hurry up and get to the room and get cleaned up. When I'm finished showering, I come out into the room and find Bethany, waiting for me. I gasp when I see that she has a bouquet of roses in one hand. In the other is a heart-shaped box of chocolates. Happy Valentine's Day, baby, Bethany chokes out with emotions. I feel myself blushing and move to her to share a passionate kiss. Since we're all done with the con for the day, Bethany and I go out and celebrate Valentine's Day together. Definitely a very magical night between the two of us. Sunday, the final day of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre Horror Con, went off without a hitch. None of us would have been surprised if any of those ghouls came back. We never saw a single one, though. We ended up finishing the con and the filming of Slasher 2. The weekend was pretty fun and exciting, aside from the whole being kidnapped thing. As for Slasher 2, it came out in time for Valentine's Day weekend a year later. It even screened at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre Horror Con. Bethany and I were at the con in person to celebrate the movie with the Corgan twins and some of the actors. As for the ghouls in the movie, The Corgan twins were able to again make movie magic to incorporate them to flow flawlessly with the rest of the movie. Bethany and I were also at the con to celebrate our first Valentine's Day anniversary together. I used to be a real hater of Valentine's Day. Now I anticipate it knowing I've still got Bethany very much in my life. Oh, and as for Slasher 3 Valentine Screams, well, you're going to have to be patient on that one and come to St. Valentine's Day Massacre HorrorCon next year to see it. And yes, we're filming that sequel here too. So, until the third installment, this sequel's a wrap. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Well, my spookies, you've survived a marathon of truly evil love, and I hope you're safe at home or wherever it is you listen. Don't worry, we have a brand new story all about the terrors and pitfalls of the heart coming next week as we unveil a brand new weekly spooky novella by Rob Fields, and you will not want to miss it. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really does help the show, and if you love what we're doing and want to support us, just head to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus shows and so much more. But now, I'm out of here. But just remember, I love you.